Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rome.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the state of Israel is reeling after the gruesome discovery of the bodies of 3 teenage boys murdered in a terrorist attack. After 18 days of searching and praying, the remains of Gilad Shaer and Naftali Frankel, who were both 16 years old, and 19-year-old Ayal Ifrach, were discovered near Hebron last week. The Knesset plenum was halted and all votes were canceled when news of the brutal murders was announced. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the families of the boys to offer his personal condolences. The IDF will continue the operation in search of the 2 Muslim terrorists suspected of this vicious murder. Both have been arrested numerous times for acts of terrorism, and both are affiliated with Hamas, which is now part of the American-sponsored Palestinian Terrorist Unity Government. The very night the bodies were discovered, more than 15 rockets were fired from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip into southern Israel, sparking fires and sending several Israelis to the hospital. Erin Viner has more on that story.
Yes, Yochanan, that's right. There's been a drastic escalation in rocket fire on Israel from Gaza since Gilad, Naftali, and Eyal were abducted, and Hamas has taken responsibility for some of the missiles fired into Israel. Numerous Israelis have been injured. Several homes and other property have sustained serious damage, and a factory has been destroyed. Israel is responding with airstrikes on the rocket launching sites, as well as the targeting of weapons storage facilities and terror activity locations in Gaza. Hamas has issued a grave warning to the Jewish state that it is prepared to open the gates of hell on Israel. The terror organization has sworn to the destruction of Israel, and even as part of the unity government with the Palestinian Authority, it has never ceased to work feverishly toward that goal on all fronts.
A disturbing new poll has been released which reflects a sudden hardline shift in the attitude of Palestinians toward Israel. The Washington Institute for Near East Policy surveyed Palestinians in mid-June about issues pertaining to the peace process. When asked if they would accept Israel's existence if Palestinians were granted an independent state, a startling 60% of those Arabs who responded said no, adding that they would rather commit to armed struggle against Israel and would encourage their leaders to work toward taking the entire territory from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. The poll also reflected that even those Palestinians who support a 2-state solution view it as part of a program of stages to seize all of the land of Israel as their own. The celebration of the abduction of 3 Israeli teenage boys is an alarming example of the hatred that has infected the Palestinian public.
The entire conscientious world has been haunted by images of Palestinians celebrating the abduction of Gilad, Naftali, and Eyal, known as the 3 Shalits campaign. Modern secular Palestinians and even Israeli Arabs have posed for pictures holding up the number 3, the symbol reported to represent support of the terrorist act, and call for further abductions, similar to that of former IDF soldier Gilad Shalit, who was held by Hamas for 5 years before being exchanged for 1,027 Palestinian security prisoners. A group of Jews praying for the boys was accosted in Jerusalem's Old City last week by hundreds of Arabs making that gesture. And the Temple Institute released a statement saying that hundreds of Muslim men, women, and children hurled thunderous jeers and curses at the group while holding up their newly minted obscene 3-finger victory sign, signifying their gloating pride in the kidnapping of the 3 Jewish boys. A rabbi with the group said that to see this kind of venomous hatred in the faces of children holding their 3 fingers in the air was unnerving.
The terrorist group known as ISIS has proclaimed a new Islamic caliphate. The radical Sunni movement, an offshoot of al-Qaeda, has established what they now call the Islamic State, located between Iraq and Syria and governed by strict Islamic law. They declared their commander, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, as the supreme political and religious head of all Muslims worldwide, and they have demanded that Muslims swear allegiance to him. Baghdadi has been given the title of Caliph, in essence making him the successor of Muhammad, the founder of Islam.
The New York Times is reporting that Iran is arming Iraq with military equipment and drones in an effort to fight the Sunni Islamic State terrorists. The report claimed that a group of al-Quds officers are on the ground in Iraq at the al-Rashid base near Baghdad, training the Iraqi army and assisting military commanders in mobilizing units in the south. The Shiite Islamic Republic is also said to be sending 140 tons of military equipment and supplies to Iraq each day. According to the United Nations, more than 2,400 people were killed during this Islamic uprising in Iraq during the month of June alone. The threat of this rapidly spreading jihad has the surrounding Arab countries on full alert out of great concern that the group will next attempt to overthrow their governments. U.S. President Barack Obama has petitioned Congress for $500 million in aid for the training of Syrian rebels to assist in their fight against this Islamic guerrilla army.
A top Israeli intelligence officer has warned of the threat of Chinese jihadists. Jacques Nerrier told a group of visiting Chinese delegates that there are more than 1,000 radical Chinese Muslims training for jihad in Pakistan, and currently there are thousands of them fighting in the Syrian civil war. Nerrier stressed the threat that they pose when they return to China. Dr. Dori Gold, the head of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, told the group that while many people are aware of the growing business and economic interests that Israel and China share, the two countries also share strategic foreign policy interests. Among the most important is counterterrorism intelligence.
The French government has officially warned its citizens against doing business with Israel. The foreign ministry in Paris released a formal statement advising the public of potential legal implications if they invest in any companies operating in Judea, Samaria, or the Golan Heights. Financial transactions, investment, purchases, and any other economic activities in these areas were cited as carrying both legal and economic risks, adding that the French government views Judea and Samaria as illegal and occupied land. German and British leaders have also made similar warnings, and Italy and Spain are expected to follow suit in what is being viewed as a coordinated effort by the 5 largest countries of the European Union to punish the Jewish state. Israel views this development as unjustified, and a spokesman for the Israeli Foreign Ministry said that deep confusion marks EU policy, which appears to warn their citizens of legal consequences without the slightest relevant legal reference.
U.S. federal health regulators have approved the use of an Israeli invention which enables paraplegics to walk again. The device, called ReWalk, is an external robot with legs that function like an exoskeleton. It is equipped with motion sensors and motorized joints attached to the leg braces, which work together to respond to upper body movements and shifts in weight, allowing individuals paralyzed from the waist down to stand up and walk. A statement released by the FDA said innovative devices such as ReWalk go a long way toward helping people with spinal cord injuries gain some mobility. FDA approval allows Americans to purchase the ReWalk device in the United States. U.S. Marine Corps Captain Derek Herrera, a paraplegic, has been training with ReWalk for several months and said that he will be one of the first Americans to purchase the device. He added that it will be wonderful for me to use the system to stand up and walk on my own.
A new Israeli nanotech system is the world's first innovation that can reportedly sniff out terrorist threats. The device was developed by the Tel Aviv-based Tracesense Systems company that representatives say can analyze molecules and determine if they match chemical compounds associated with toxic material. Tracesense CEO Dr. Ricardo Osorov says that the company's laboratory tests of its nanosensor chips are able to detect a wide range of chemical components at extremely low concentrations, including explosives, chemical and biological warfare agents, in air, solid, and liquid samples, at levels unmatched by existing technologies that surpass the abilities of dogs and other bomb-sniffing animals. TraceSense is currently developing handheld devices that can be used in airports, border checkpoints, mass transit stations, public buildings, or any other venue deemed a potential target. And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day on our rooftop studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Professor Eugene Kantorovich, expert in the Middle East and international law. Professor Kantorovich, thank you for being on the show.
Pleasure, Josh.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what is your focus of study here in Israel?
So I study international law and the legal rights to territories and the legal status of different territories, including, of course, this much contested territory.
Well, one of the things that we hear from the international community is that the territories, the settlements, are an obstacle to peace. Whereas if you go there, it's one of the only places where you really see Jews and Palestinians working together. Tell us about this dichotomy.
Yeah, it's a very strange idea that the presence of civilian communities are an obstacle to peace. The only way in which that could make sense is if you think that in a two-state solution, if you support that the Arab state, the Palestinian state, has to have zero Jews. Settlements can only be an obstacle, Jewish communities can only be an obstacle if the Palestinians have some kind of right to a state with zero Jews in it. That's a very strange kind of idea. I would even say offensive and racist. Israel lives happily and comfortably with a 20% Arab minority. The Palestinian claim is that if they were to get a state, it would not be worth it, it would not be a good state, it would be nothing that they even want to take unless it is pre-cleansed of Jews. That's the only context in which settlements could even potentially be an obstacle to peace.
Well, you said it correctly. Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian people, has gone on record and said that he doesn't want even one Jew in the Palestinian state, and this is obviously a racist idea, yet for some reason all the leaders of the international community are embracing this. Why do you think that's possible?
It's hard to understand because there's nothing like it in the world. There have been other territorial conflicts where new states have emerged, and they have taken, as ethnic minorities, groups of the people from which they broke off. For example, there's been internationally brokered peace proposals for northern Cyprus, for Western Sahara, which I don't want to compare to the case of Israel too closely because there was no legal right of the occupying power to be there in the first place. But in none of those cases did the international community demand that a single settler leave. Because settlers, even if you think Israel has no right to the territory, have committed no crime, they're ordinary civilians. And there's not a single context that I have found in my study of international situations in which any group of people has been forced to evacuate their homes as part of a peace process. Because if the Palestinian claim is, we can't live here side by side with them, that shows that they're not talking about peace. Peace is people living side by side.
You work at Northwestern University in Chicago, and you see in America that there is a very anti-Israel sentiment on the campus grounds. They even go as far as calling Israel an apartheid state, where we're the only democracy in the whole Middle East where everyone has equality. Why are they calling us an apartheid state if we have both Jews and Arabs here, yet if they have only Arabs in the PA territories, why isn't that called an apartheid state?
Yeah, I think it's a classic example of the big lie, how if you say the exact opposite of the truth, if you invert things so totally, it becomes almost, you don't even know how to start arguing with it. So if you drive around Judea and Samaria, what people call the West Bank, there's Jewish towns and there's Arab towns. In the Jewish towns you have Arabs working, you have Arabs going to the store. In the Arab towns, every town under the control of the Palestinians has a big red sign. Jews do not enter. It is dangerous to your life and you are not allowed to go. That sounds like the very definition of apartheid, and there's absolutely nothing like that in Israel anywhere, where of course Arabs serve in the government and so forth. So it's, in a sense, it's turning things upside down to make it almost, you know, if someone said to you, the earth is flat, how do you argue with a flat earther? It's very hard. So this apartheid is kind of like, the apartheid claim is kind of like the political version of a flat earth argument, but it's important to note why they make the apartheid claim. Why don't they just say Israel's bad, we don't like what Israel's doing? Because what do you do with an apartheid regime? There's only one example of an apartheid regime, South Africa, and what do you do with it? You destroy it, you remove it. So apartheid is a code word for we have to destroy the regime, we have to remove the regime.
You're an expert in international law, and a lot of people call Judea and Samaria occupied territories. It's a huge misnomer. If anything, you could say maybe it's disputed territories, but according to international law, those territories aren't occupied at all. They belong to Israel. So where is this coming from?
Yeah, the League of Nations mandate in 1922 created all of the current borders of the Middle East. If you wonder why does Jordan have a right to exist, why does Jordan exist, it's part of the League of Nations mandate for Palestine. And the same mandate, the same international instrument that creates Jordan, whose existence and borders no one disputes, creates a Jewish state with borders from the river to the sea. Nothing since has happened to change those borders, and obviously if Israel has a claim to this territory, you certainly can't occupy yourself.
Professor Kontorovich, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
There's a big international effort now to try to sever the Jewish connection to their historical biblical homeland and to the place where hundreds of thousands of Jews now live, Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank. And this is the wedge, the main wedge against Israel now. And to strengthen Israel, the most important thing to do is to strengthen the Jewish presence in these places. And I would encourage people to come and visit, to come and see how people live, to come and see the absence of apartheid, to support Judea and Samaria and the Jewish communities economically, and make it clear through your actions that this is part of Israel.
Thank you, Professor Kontorovich, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
This is Jerusalem, Israel's capital city. It's an ancient and modern treasure that is beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
Up-See, or Stand Up and See. This is the Israeli invention that has brought new hope to children with cerebral palsy.
Amichai suffers from severe developmental impairment, and we realized that he wasn't going to walk and talk, but this Up-See really gives him a chance to do things we never thought he would do. Since we have it, I've seen amazing improvement.
When American-born musician Debbie El-Natan realized her second child, Rotem, was born with cerebral palsy, she didn't simply accept his fate, she tried to change it.
I wanted to combine Rotem's curiosity together with the need that he'd be on his feet weight-bearing, together with the need that he had access to the world around him, together with the need that our family could play something together, he with his siblings or other children.
Debbie, originally from Philadelphia, grew up in a home where her father was always inventing things. So when the time came, she used whatever skills she learned from her father and tried to mainstream her son. She worked on many devices. The Up-See was one of the first. Here, Rotem, at age 7, tests out an earlier version of the device with his father in a Jerusalem park.
It's so difficult for a family to raise a child with cerebral palsy. The opportunity for the children to just reach out and touch a tree even, or to pet a dog, are so little. And I'm not comfortable with it just being my own private miracle within my own four walls with my own family. Everything that's good for Rotem, I want everybody to have.
Naomi Avner has a 4-year-old son, Amichai, who was born severely disabled. She saw an earlier version of the Up-See used at Karen Orr, a center for children with multiple disabilities.
I came across the APSI a few years ago. I was so excited. We started to use the APSI with other children, and Amichai's mother came and saw this equipment. She said, "Oh, I want to use it." So we asked Debbie, and she agreed to give him this equipment, and it was amazing because we didn't expect to see in Amichai such a huge change in short time.
Amichai suffered from constant bouts of pneumonia. The UPSI has changed his life dramatically.
He has liquids in his lungs since he doesn't move very much. He's always sitting or laying down. And since he has the UPSI, he's up and about, and it's amazing. He hasn't had pneumonia at all since, and you can tell that his breathing is clear.
It took Debbie Elnatan over a decade to bring the UPSI to the public.
I think that these children and families deserve a better life and better quality of life, and that I have equipment that can give them that.
The response has been amazing. Articles and news reports have spread across the globe. Debbie was also adamant that she wanted to choose a partner that would market only on the internet to keep the device affordable. Her goal is to help as many people as possible.
It's actually unbelievable for me to see the responses of other parents and children using the UPSI. It's much more than I would have ever dreamed.
Debbie Elnatan is a mother who saw the necessity and invented a device to help her son. And now she wants to share the UPSI with the world.
You put your right foot in.
This is Larry Price for Israel Up Close.
You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Anywhere else, this would be a vacation by a lake. But this is the Sea of Galilee. The wonders of Israel are beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
What an exciting place to be, what an exciting place to visit. I'm talking to you about the land of Israel, the place where Jesus was born, and Jesus did his full ministry and went up to heaven. We'll come back one day to this very same land. Now you have the opportunity to come and visit this place in the summer tour 2014. This place is colorful, it's tasty, it opens the Bible in a new way, and it is very diverse. I will give you a small tour. Now we're in the desert. The beach, culture, history, big city life, awesome food. Israel is not just camels, hummus, and desert. Israel is also modern society, and one of the examples is the city of Tel Aviv, having beautiful beaches like this. In the summertime, these beaches are packed, and you can enjoy also this beautiful beach when we come to the summer tour, to this exact same place. So come along the summer tour 2014 to enjoy the land of Israel.
Coming up next, special Aliyah report from Ben Gurion Airport, Israel.
What you see behind us is today a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Behind me, Bnei Menashe from the country of Israel are arriving, and you are seeing today as prophecy is being fulfilled in front of your eyes. The Bnei Menashe are returning after 2,700 years back to their ancient homeland.
Therefore prophesy and say to them, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I will open your graves and raise you from your graves, O people, and I will bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am the Lord when I open your graves and raise you from your graves, O my people.
And this is taking place today because Christians around the world were willing to listen to the voice of God and were contributing financially to pay for the flights of those Bnei Menashe to come back today to Israel. The prophet Isaiah says in Isaiah chapter 49 verse 22, he says, "Behold, I am lifting up my hand to the nations, and they shall bring back your people from the four corners of this world, and they will bring them back to the land of Israel." Today, Gentile Christians around the world became part of this fulfillment of biblical prophecy of returning the Bnei Menashe to the land of Israel.
In the late 1970s, a few individuals from a small people group located in northeast India began to research the origins of their religious traditions and their ancestry. Their research led them to discover an ancestral connection to Israel. Under Persian rule, their ancestors traveled through the Silk Route to modern-day Afghanistan, Tibet, China, and finally to southeast India in the midst of Myanmar and Bangladesh. This group, called the Bnei Menashe or Sons of Menashe, are believed to be descendants from the lost tribe of Manasseh. Today, you can take part in the fulfillment of the ancient biblical promise to return the people of Israel to their homeland. The ICEJ has committed to sponsor future flights from northern India to Israel for an additional 250 Bnei Menashe. The flight costs for 250 Bnei Menashe to return is roughly $250,000 US. For many of the Bnei Menashe, returning to the land of the Bible is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream, and a gift of $1,000 can help make that dream a reality for one of these individuals. No gift is too small. Every donation we receive to assist us in this important work is greatly appreciated, so please give generously.
Please help us in these coming weeks and months to bring more Bnei Menashe to the land of Israel. Become part of this modern day miracle of the prophetic fulfillment of ancient scriptures in our time, and help us with $1,000 per person to help them to return back to the land of Israel.
To make a donation, visit our website at www.icej.tv. or send a check to ICEJ, P.O. Box 1192, Jerusalem 91010, Israel.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.